Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. Someone asked recently about what we were doing with H5P, Experience API, and ELMS Learning Network, and I went, yeah, I'll show you the video, and then I realized I have never shot a video on this topic, so I was a bit embarrassed. So this is going to be a bit more on Rails than I typically do, but that's because this is data from our learning record store, and so there is student data in here. It's anonymized, in this visual. So it says like, hey, 4 learners submitted statements this day. But so I'm going to be very cautious as to where I'm clicking and things, which is not typical for my demonstrations, but just wanted to get that out of the way as to why. So an LRS, as I mentioned, is short for Learning Record Store. We use something called Learning Locker, which is an open source learning record store. It's also a company, so they have a SaaS offering, or you can deploy it locally. Um, and so we're starting to collect statements from ELMS Learning Network and from the H5P project. If you're not familiar with H5P, it's pretty sweet. Um, it lets you build these little widgety HTML5 applications. Part of why it's so sweet, other than the fact that it's HTML5 and it works on any device, I was even using it on my Windows 8 phone with moderate success recently, is that everything emits xAPI statements. xAPI is kind of you can do activity tracking, if you will, the purest form. And so we've got these H5P widgety things in a course, and we're currently collecting feedback from students, like what do they think of the material. And so I'm going to show you what some of these statements look like. When you get an xAPI record, it looks something like this, right? It'll has some variability to it, but I know that it was me. I know that I completed something, so there's always a verb. The object as to what it was about, which in the case of ELMS Learning Network, we need to store 2 objects, actually. We need to store where the thing took place and then where it was actually implemented in ELMS Learning Network, which I'll show in a minute. And so the question we're asking in this case is we use a course management system of Canvas, but a lot of the experience actually takes place in our system, ELMS Learning Network. And so we wanted to ask students, hey, is this clear? Is it confusing that you've got these 2 environments? And it's still way too early to tell. Initial feedback, from me is obviously positive, but from other students has been, mixed. It's relatively positive, which speaks to our instructions, things like that. So we're trying to use these experience API statements to measure quality. So here's that item. So this is in ELMS Learning Network. It's in the media system. And so I've got this question, which is the relationship between Canvas and course website is clear. If you're not familiar with H5P and ELMS Learning Network, you can see ELMS Learning Network is built on Drupal. H5P works with Drupal. So the H5P building environment is actually right in ELMS Learning Network. It's kind of cool. So if I wanted to change this question to not be disagree, I could change it, and now my HTML5 widget is updated. You can also get into some of the behavioral settings. This can be used for quizzing and low stakes quizzes and self checks, things like that. Has a lot of other stuff you can do with it. I'm only going to show this one type. It does all these different types of content types for memory games, fill in the blanks, drag and drop questions, course presentations. You can do pop-up video type stuff. It's really cool. But the reason I was sold on it is that it emits data, and lots of it. And so anything that you would, if I click this, submit feedback, that's what the interaction would look like. Where this shows up in the rest, where students experience this, right? So if you think this is kind of your asset management system, and then someone will click this arrow and said, I want to iframe in this material, and they copy that and they throw it somewhere else. The somewhere else is here. So this is our Architecture 100 course, where we're starting to collect this initial feedback. So you can see it's in the flow of the material. If I open up the outline, I'm on the course navigation page. It's like the 3rd page in. So we're asking questions in orientation primarily so that we can get real-time feedback instead of traditional monitoring process, which would be end of the course saying, was the orientation clear? Well, yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't remember. So can see we've got this page about the course navigation. I can scroll down, and then there's our relationship between Canvas and the course website is clear. So I'll say neither agree or disagree. Thank you for your feedback. You can also see from ELMS Learning Network perspective, I can hit to edit this asset and it'll jump me to the right place, even though it's embedded somewhere else, to show that it is actually coming from somewhere else. If you don't believe me, if I edit this page, you'll see we've got all these little token things all over the place. So we tokenize LMS name because we've got 2 LMSs at the moment, and who knows when that'll get changed anyway. And then here's our thing that swaps out and it converts itself into asking the media system for item 203, which happens to be that cool interactive widget. So we've got a couple more of these as well. I've got one on, at the end of our orientation quiz saying, hey, do you feel prepared to understand the structure and what's expected of you? Is another question we're asking. We've also got at the end of the first activity they do, where they have to go and read and do some writing and submit something. At the bottom is, this helped me demonstrate what I've been learning. And then where I think we're going to get the most useful feedback as the semester goes on is here. So this video is engaging. So we're going to start throwing these on all of our videos, certain critical points and see if students are saying, what they're learning is engaging, or if, they're giving negative feedback. We're getting feedback, right? So this stuff is transmitted using xAPI, as I mentioned, so that when I click the button, statement shows up on the other side. We've got a bunch of them scattered through this course, but we can start throwing them everywhere. And so in Learning Locker, I've got that statement. I'm going to step into reporting, and I should be able to see, go to graph, you'll see 711, 2 statements. I can look at the statements, and you can see 1 minute ago and 2 minutes ago that I clicked those buttons. In the case of this statement, you'll notice there's these additional properties that aren't actually in, they're part of extensions, and you can kind of add on whatever you want to xAPI if there's additional contextual data you need to collect. Well, this was when I took it on the actual page, node 203 in our media system. And so there's no context. But the interesting thing, what we've added into it is when I took it in that page, you'll see it provides additional contextual information it was able to pull. So it knew that when I took that, it was in Architecture 100. I was on the course navigation page. The page was actually this, and I'm a staff member. And so if you imagine we're using the same question, and we're going to start to, once we get this initial batch of data, we're going to start rolling it across our entire portfolio. We've got like 60 some courses. And so we'll have the same question being asked in 60 different places about all this different media, but we have standard question methodology. And so we'll be able to then filter the data out. We have to build the visuals, but we'll be able to filter the data out and say, of everyone that thought the relationship was clear between the website and Canvas, 50% of people in Architecture 100 thought it was clear, but 90% thought it was clear in Art 10 or Music 100 or whatever the course is. We'll be able to see all that data in one place. So we can also say, of the way we're doing this, we've got 75% people think this is clear out of the gate, so we must be doing an okay job. So it's just a real quick tour of what we're doing with xAPI. We're currently collecting this data. You can get into exporting as well, which is kind of cool. And so you take the reporting data, exporting, and you create a report with the information you want to get back out, and then download it as JSON or CSV. So this is useful enough, I think, from like a data collection standpoint, from doing some research and analysis. What we want to get to is actually, instead of using these things in the system, we're going to build interfaces in ELMS Learning Network that tap the APIs of Learning Locker to visualize material in different ways. Rick Humphreys, user of ELMS Learning Network in the UK, has this video he shot about a year ago of a dashboard that's using LRS data to give out badges. And so we want to be able to get to stuff like that. Obviously, better usability than that video if you've seen it. But that's kind of the state of where we are with the the integration of these three pieces. If you have any questions, please ask on Twitter, or check out the project at ELMSLN or elmsln.org. Thanks.